Hey everybody, it's Tim McCamus again. We get an enormous amount of feedback from our website, get some questions sent in on a variety of things, and we kind of pick through them and see if there's stuff of interest that a lot of guys are asking for that we might want to do a little technical video on. So we have been getting a lot of requests for the different tools that we have for handling the quarter-turn fasteners. How do they work? What are they used for? It's kind of hard to put all that in the description on the site, so I'm going to touch base on a few of these things that we have that will make your life a lot easier when you're installing or adjusting the quarter-turn fasteners. So in another video I touched on the different styles of the fasteners and where they were used and what they were most useful for. So here I've got just a little bit of some of the tools we have for installing and adjusting these. So this little guy here is kind of a neat tool. This is if you have a car that you're working on that already has tabs and springs installed, and you just need to locate the hole. So let's say you're freshening up your interior, taking out the aluminum panels, and you're putting all flat carbon panels in it to make it kind of look really tricked out and current and save a little weight. So, but you've got all these tabs already on there and you've got the springs on them, and you need to locate the center of that hole so you can put it in that panel. So now you've cut your panel to fit, and you can take this and drop it down through this hole, and then it'll slide over this spring, and then it's got a little point on it here. And what you can do then is just either push down with your thumb or just give it a light little tap with a body hammer or something just to make this little dimple in that carbon panel, and that's going to pick up that center of that hole so that you can then transfer it into the panel, and it'll line up perfectly when you put it back in the car. So this is a neat little thing. It's cheap and it's perfect for the job. This one here, this is like a little drill fixture here. So when you're doing a new build and you have a, let's say you're doing a deck lid or some kind of a panel that you're using the Cleco fasteners on. So you're drilling an 1/8 inch pilot hole through both panels, and you're using a Cleco fastener to hold it in place while you're doing the build. Well, then when you're done, you've got these 1/8 inch hole in the panel and then through the sub panel, but you need to set it up for the spring and the quarter-turn fastener. So this little tool here is basically just a drill fixture. It's got a center pilot in it, and then it's got spacing for the 1 inch and the 1 3/8. So this is going to line up with those 1 3/8 springs, or this fastener right here. Or if it's the small one, that'll be your 1 inch. So then what you can do is you put this in there. It's going to center in that 1/8 inch pilot. You're going to line this edge up with the edge of the panel, whether it's a deck lid or an interior panel or something. And then you can just take your 1/8 inch bit in a battery drill and just go down through here and just spot it. And don't drill it all the way through. You just need to take it and you hold it in there and just go down through there with an 1/8 inch bit and just spot the hole. Then take it out. And then when you take the panel out, you can drill all the way through. It's just not necessary. It's too hard to hold this straight and then drill through it, because when the drill is going through the panel, it can walk a little bit and this can get twisted. Then your spring or your quarter-turn fastener isn't going to line up straight with the side of the panel. So just use this for a spot drill to locate that, and then when you take that panel completely out, you can drill all the way through and deburr that hole. So it's a nice little fixture just for locating the spring holes or the quarter-turn fasteners. It works for the self-ejectors or the springs. This, again, we talked about this earlier. This is this fastener tool here. This is cut to fit nice and tight in there, so it fits in there. Seeing it's the right thickness, so that you get a nice. And you can use this like this, kind of like a screwdriver, or you can use it like this to get a little more leverage. So you can use it in any location around here. So if you're putting the front end on, you can pull it out of your pocket, just push it down, give it a quarter turn. If it's a little bit tight and you need more than that, you can use it like this, give it a quarter turn. So this fits in these, this fits really nice in here. So that's just a perfect fit in there. It fits all the way down in that slot so that you get the most contact area to tighten that up. So this is a nice little tool, and it's the same profile is this pocket tool that we have. So nice fastener tool. So then if you go over here to these two items, so these are really nice because the panels are all different thicknesses. I mean, you can, and even after the body's painted, it adds thickness to it. So you might have your fasteners all tuned up before it goes to the paint shop, and then it comes back and the guys put primer and sealer and paint and clear and put all this shit on there and built this up. Now it's thicker than it was before, so now you've got to readjust the springs to make the panel fasteners click in place right. So remember what I was telling you before in the other video, they need to snap in place and they need to hold tight. So to do that, you have to adjust the spring. So we've got two tools here. I'm going to show you the differences between the two. This one here is really nice. So it's got the stud in here and it's cut just like the fastener is. And this is used to shrink or to stretch the spring height. Okay, so let's say I go in and I'm putting my front end on and I'm getting ready to set this up and I go in and click this and it's like, man, it's just too tight. Okay, it's the spring's too tight. I can't turn it. So I need to shrink that spring up, pull it towards this fastener so that it'll click in there properly. So to do that, I can use this tool right here, and I'm going to show you right here. So let's say you've got this spring in your in the tab and it's holding your front end on, or any panel in particular. So I'm going to shrink that. So I'm going to pull this up so I can take this and snap this into place. I'm going to back it off. So, okay, so now I got it snapped into place. Then I'm just going to hold this, and if I turn this knob, see what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up this way, and while supporting it here where it's riveted. So this is important that you don't do this with some vice grips or shit, because you're just going to make a mess out of it. So I'm pulling it where the fastener is going to hit, and I'm going to tighten this down until I get, now this is a spring, so you've got to go past where you want it to be and let it spring back. So you might have to do this a couple of times until you get the tension right. And if you don't do this a lot, like my guys use these all the time, so they're familiar with how much to turn it, but the spring has to go past its point to come back and set. Well, if you tighten this too much and now you go click the fastener in and it's too loose, and you're like, shit, I shrunk it up too much, so now it's too loose. Well, it works both ways. You can just take it and you can also put it on the back side, and it's machined out here so that it supports that spring, because you want to support this area right here, but then still have a recess to draw that up tight. So I can come around here and I can put that on and lock that in and see how that fits in there. That fits in and recesses in there. And then I can just tighten this down. And then now I'm going to pull it this way, and it's going to pull that spring back down and stretch. So we were shrinking it before, now we're going to stretch it out. We're going to make it a little longer. So now you just give it a little bit, because you got it too loose, go halfway and kind of let it off, and then try it and click your fastener in and see if it's tight. So just remember that when this stuff is new, you want it just a little on the tight side, because it's going to loosen up as you run the car and it vibrates and everything gets kind of set in. But so you want it a little tight when it's new, and then after you put a couple runs on the car and everything kind of gets its groove in its place, it'll be just about right. So use this tool here to shrink and stretch the spring. This is really nice and it's simple. You can keep it in your toolbox. You can use it at the track. And stay on top of these fasteners, because this is the cause of lots of damage. If you don't have the fastener right and it comes loose on the run, it can tear the fender, tear the carbon panel. It can just cause all kinds of havoc. So it takes a minute to do, and if you have the right tool, it's easy and it's quick. So I want to show you this other one, because this is really nice if you've got the room, but sometimes if you're going to stretch the spring back out, you may not have the room to do it. So this is another type of tool that works the same way. This comes in a little kit. It's got these little felt pads on here that you stick on this side, and then so if I'm going to shrink that, let's say I want to pull this back up, I put this through and I've got these pads on here to protect either my painted surface or my carbon panel. And then you can use this driver here to click that in place, or just back it off and turn it by hand. And then you're going to turn this and tighten that up. Let's take a 3/4 wrench and just spin this and pull this up. And this works especially well if you're on the back side of a panel and you don't have enough room to get this longer tool in here. So then I got my felt pads on this side, but now I need to stretch that spring out. So it comes with these little recessed pegs that thread in here. So this is 1 3/8, this is inch. So this is inch center, 1 3/8 center. So I can thread these in here, and then I can go over here like I did before, and these are hollowed out. They're drilled, they're counter drilled so that they actually set on the rivet. So this has got a pop rivet in it, which is what you're going to use to hold that spring on. But now I can put this in here and see that'll slip right over those rivets, and it fits really good. And see, now I can take my 3/4 inch. See, I've got a lot less area than I had with this tool. Okay, so see, if I don't have this much room, I can use this tool to get in from the back side and turn this and stretch that spring back this way. And these are really nice little stands. I've just got them hand tied in there, but they actually go all the way down flush. And as you tighten this up, it's going to pull that spring back this way. Whereas if I want to shrink it up, then I can take these out. And now I've got my felt pads on this other side, so then I can come in from this side, put my felt pads against my painted surface or the panel I want to protect, and see, now I can tighten that up this side. I'll take my 3/4 wrench, you take a socket and tighten it up. You just got to be careful not to go too much, because you can pull the spring all the way up inside that hole if you try. So you want to use this and in the same manner that you use this other tool. So it's kind of nice to have both. If you have both of them in your toolbox or in your trailer, you can easily adjust any spring on the car, and they're very easy to use. And just like anything else, you know, it's the right tool for the job. So it's better than, you know, I see some guys try to get in here with a screwdriver and try to pry this, or they try to think they can grab it with needle nose vice grips, and they just end up pulling the spring off the rivets here. Just make a mess of it. So the right tool is always best when you're trying to fix something like this, especially something delicate like these springs that need to be handled properly. So that's all for that. And then also, this is another tool that we sell quite a bit. This is just a dimpler tool. It doesn't get used as much now that we have a lot of carbon panels. But if you've got a steel or aluminum panel that you want to put a little dimple in, this is just made to drill a hole in the panel, slip this down in there, and then smack it with a hammer, and it'll dimple it. And what it does is it'll come and make it look like these doublers here, which these little doubler rings are made to reinforce the area for a flathead. So it makes that little recess right there. So this is kind of a neat tool if you're doing some special project where you've got a steel panel and you need to put a couple flatheads in it. That thing works good to make that dimple in there. So that's the rundown on these tools. This is some very handy stuff to have. This stuff definitely you need all the time. This is more as you're building the car or as you're updating it, you're going to use these tools. But this stuff here should be around the car all the time. And if you've got a fastener that's giving you a little trouble, you should pull this out and tune it up before it either vibrates out and you lose it on the track, or you can't get it snapped and you're up on the line and you need to pull the front end off, and then you've got a fastener that's giving you some grief. So spend a little time and tune those up, and your whole operation will run a lot smoother.